Hey y'all, it's Andrew, and I wanted to just jump on camera real quick to answer a question and to show you um, just what it looks like in person to talk about 4% to 6% taxes when you're selling a property. This is just came up on Facebook, so I thought a video would be a little bit easier. So this is a property that we just sold on January 21st, and we had this as a rental property, and we were selling it to somebody that's going to move in. So we actually didn't do this one right, and I'll show you how, but it wasn't that big a deal because it was literally 20 days after the new year. So what happens when you sell a property? I own this property for 21 days, 21 days in 2021. So I have to pay my portion of those taxes. Now, that money doesn't get paid right now unless the taxes are due. If it's back taxes or they were due from uh, in October or whatever, the 2020 taxes would get paid by this attorney at this point. But 2021, the bills aren't out yet. So this money isn't going anywhere except on paper. It's moving from my pocket to the seller's pocket in the form of a credit. I mean, the buyer's pocket in the form of a credit, because I have to give them credit for that. I have to pay my portion, and nobody's actually sending this to the county yet. So that's kind of a misconception there. What it actually does is it just takes it off of the money I would have gotten from the sale and puts it back in the buyer's pocket so that they can pay their bill later on down the line, and they've been compensated for the time that I owned the property. I hope that makes sense, because I think that was a bit of clarification or confusion in the post. So if you haven't been through this, or you haven't sold a property or really paid attention to your HUDs, this part might be confusing. So what we did here, this is prorated. So I'm going to just pull my calculator up. The proration is simply what this tax amount for this full year would have been, which I got it pulled up on my other screen, divided by 365 days times however many days I owned it, which looks, I think it's calculated as 21 days, give or take. Okay. Um, so this is the amount that I need to pay the county. I need to pay my taxes. Bill's not out yet. So instead of paying the county, I'm just giving this buyer credit for the time I owned it. So this amount of money, which I'm looking at 2020 bill, he probably pulled that. I would assume he pulled it offline, but I don't know. Doesn't seem to be exactly right. But this is taxed at 6% because we owned it as a rental property. What the conversation is when you're selling to someone that's going to reside in the house, they will be able to claim residency and get 4%. So in your contract, when you're selling, you need to identify and put in there that we will prorate the taxes at a 4% owner occupied rate. And that is something that a closing attorney can do, or you can do it, make sure it's done right. But that's where you want your proration. This particular one, we put that in there. It didn't get done, obviously, but I didn't really care so much about it because it's only 21 days, right? Let me show you the difference. That's 165. Now, this property would the 4% rate would be about $800, we'll call it $850 a year. Okay, so that's $850 divided by 365. So that's $2 a day times the 21 days. So had this been done correctly and calculated at a 4% rate, I would have me as the seller, would have only had to credit $48.90 to the buyer at this particular junction. Okay, so what's the difference? 160.98 minus 48. That's $112 difference per month, or per 20 days, that that I am giving to the seller as a form of credit. So the reason I didn't make a big deal about this because it was $100. Now, if this transaction had happened in February, March, April, we're talking about a difference of what was it, $5 a day. So, at 30, 40, 50 days into the year, that we're talking a couple $100 and then thousands of dollars as we get towards the end of the year and start selling. So when my side gets bigger and bigger, when I've owned it for longer in the year, changing this and prorating at the 4% becomes much, much, much more important. So all the things we did closing at the December and November, we had to really make sure that we were doing this at the 4%. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarifies it for you. This money doesn't actually get sent to the county unless you're closing towards the end of the year and the bill is already out. Okay. You could still do the same thing. It just has to be agreed to by the buyer and the seller. Okay. So do that up front. Be prepared for it to double check it because the attorneys will overlook it because that's not something that is normally done. Not a lot of people do this, so it can get looked over as it did in this instance right here. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you need any help. REI Live is actually meeting tonight. If you're watching this today or today, we're meeting today at noon. So love to see you guys there. Talk to you later.